Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we are going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition, and we're specifically going to talk about honoring pre-1985 Dungeons & Dragons players through D&D 5e play. Alright, so this is something brand new I'm doing. I just want to share it with you. It's special to me. I thought you might be interested. So let's talk about this. Alright, so I have an incredibly generous friend who has a really interesting job. So my friend is a picker. I don't know if you know what a picker is, but basically what he does is everything he buys is used, and he buys collectibles cash on the barrel, right? And so basically he advertises. He has a minivan, and he has the name of his business and a telephone number that you can text or call him on. And I go out to eat with him a lot, and people will come right up. They'll see the minivan, and they'll be like, "Hey, I want to sell you a Nintendo NES and 100 games," right? And he's like, "Hey, here's my number. Give me just text me on this number." And he might ask, talk a little bit even while we're eating. This happens all the time. He's a really interesting guy, right? So, and what he does is he'll go in, and people have a collection, right, that they've had for as little as 5 years, sometimes up to 50 years, right? And he has this minivan, and he's like, I'm gonna fill that minivan, right? If you have enough, and I'm gonna give you cash. I'm gonna literally, look through all your stuff. I'm gonna pick the stuff I want, and I'm gonna give you an offer, and then you can take it or leave it, and we can do a little. I think one thing that people love about him is he will do negotiation, right? It's pretty rare. And then he literally carries your stuff out to the car, packs up his minivan tight full, and then gives you cash on the barrel, right? It's a really, and he was doing good. He was doing okay, he never really, he made more than enough to do for he and him, right? And actually, yeah, for he and him, and then he had, but then when March 2020 came, it just went gangbusters. And at this point, his only biggest issue is he just buys a lot faster than he sells, right? And because it's harder to sell the stuff, and so he's got to ship a little bit of a storage issue, right? Which I think a lot of businesses have today. So, but he's a really fascinating guy. So about a week ago, he got a deal, and somebody called him. And I got a large video game. He does video games. He does sneakers. He does what else? Comic books. He's very good at comic books. Old toys, all kinds of stuff. He just gets crazy. I love to see what he has, but I can't look because every time I go there, he's got stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get this from you, and it's his business, and I don't want to get in the way of his business. So I try not to even see the stuff that goes through his hands, like G1 Transformers. It's crazy the stuff he gets his hands on. So, but he's got a really interesting job. Excuse me. So a week ago, he gets in a deal, and he's got a $2,000-$3,000 deal with a couple hundred, maybe 300 video games, right? Some of these video games are very valuable. Some of them are worth close to $1 or less, right? So he's working through this deal with the guy, and he sees the original 1983 Red Box Dungeons & Dragons 1E 1983 Red Box, and the 1983 original Experts Box Blue Box, right? And so he knows I'm a Dungeons & Dragons nut, right? And so whenever he sees stuff out in the wild, he'll pick it up. And so far he's given me two action figures three action figures from the original toy line. He helped me get 7 of my Orange Spine Easleys. He's given me he gave me the D&D Dungeons & Dragons and television game cartridge in box, just crazy stuff. And if it's got D&D on it and it's old, he'll try to get whatever it is. If he sees it in any house he goes to, he will see if he can add it to the deal. So he did that on this one, and he had the guy add those these 2 boxes to a D&D to a video game deal. And he just gave them to me, which I'm so generous. I'm so fortunate to have, this generous person who, is just doing this. And I'm really, really thankful and very happy that that he's so generous overall. So, very, very happy to have, to have this incredibly generous friend, right? And so he gives me these boxes, right? And I'm like, I lavish lots of thanks on him. I'm like, I cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much for doing this. It really is important to me. The 1983, I came in 1982. So the 1983 red box was, I think, a little behind, but I definitely owned it, right? And I used it for years. Like, I probably did 3 to 5 years of play on that, using... Well, actually, I guess I did about a year or two, because I shot right over to the hardcovers, probably within 3 to 6 months of getting the red box. And I can't remember. I'm wondering now what I used in 82 before that. I think that would have been the blue box that was the basic. Anyway, I was really excited to get these boxes. So he gives them to me, and this is on a Tuesday, right? Tuesday night. Then on Wednesday night, I get done with all my work. I sit down, and I just, I sit down at the table, and I just bust out, packing tape, some good packing tape, and because there was a couple corners that were broken on the boxes, and so I'm just repairing the boxes, reinforcing them with tape, because I'm going to be carrying them around as I read them. And also, I wanted to confer with a couple of other DMs. I was going to show Helen this and kind of get her take on what I could pull over into 5e out of it. But I go, I get the 2 boxes, and at first I open up the red box, and there's no books in it, right? And there's no dice in it, right? And I'm like, what the heck? And it's just filled with papers, right? And I was like, oh, well, at least I'll have the box. That's fun, So then I open up the blue box, and it has all the books for both boxes, right? So I take the red book boxes over to the red book. I put the blue book boxes in the blue book. The red box dice set was complete, and it was those cool old ones where it doesn't have the it has the crayon fill in, but and I was like, oh, but then the crayon isn't even filled in yet. So I was just so excited. And then the blue box had about half the dice, right? And so I was just thrilled. I was so happy to get these, and so I literally spent 2 nights just repairing the boxes, being very meticulous and starting to just go through the material, right? And after I looked through after I repaired the boxes, looked through all the books, then I picked up these papers, right? I started going through, and I couldn't believe it. This was clear. There was 4 years of campaign material in this box. And I was like, holy cows, this is incredible. And I was just so excited and just delighted. So this was the real campaign notes of a junior high age person playing from 1983 to 1987. It had I think it had 8 separate character sheets with lots of notes from each character, right, over multiple campaigns. And it was 4 years of campaigning from 1983 to 1987, right? And I was amazed the person wrote their name right in the box, right? Now, I'm not going to, out this person, but I'm not going to dox this person or anything. But their first name was James, and last name was there, and I just couldn't believe it. And I was like, holy cow, this is a real person who really played these player characters for years. And I was just incredibly impressed that this was, all there. And I just felt like this incredible respect for this player who came up, got these, got the red box and the blue box, played through them, kept all their notes in the boxes, and played through multiple player characters. And it was like through a journey through time, right? So I call up my picker friend, and I'm like, on Friday night, and I'm like, hey, I got to thank you so much for this. I'm just so, it's been 3 nights of joy. Me reading the books, reading the player characters, repairing the boxes. Dungeons & Dragons, it just brings so much joy to my life, and it's so special and so unique. And I wasn't even playing a game, right? There's nobody there. It's just me and Dungeons & Dragons, right? And it just brings me so much joy, and it's just so special. And so I asked this my picker friend, and I'm like, hey, how'd you get these, right? And he's like, well, I got them from a dude who they had, he said their uncle died, right, of COVID, right? And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, Uncle died of COVID, and he got all the video games and all the board games and all the like role playing game stuff, right? And it wasn't, and they said it wasn't even like, he was like, it wasn't like a law thing, like it was just like, his uncle's wife called him up and said, hey, come over and get what you want, right? And so he went over and packed up everything, so just, it really struck me, like how this is somebody's real life, and I was like, how old was he really old? He's like, no, he wasn't old at all. He was 52. That's 1 year older than me. Like, this person died of COVID 1 year older than me, right? And I was like, whoa, So, this is Saturday, tomorrow's Sunday, right? And tomorrow, and so I talked to my dungeon master, and we have a new campaign, a new 5th edition campaign starting tomorrow, and it's really going to be special. It's Camelot, but all of the nobility are dragonborn, right? So it's Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, run by a new dungeon master, first time dungeon master at my table. Very excited about this, and it's a custom world. It's Camelot with just switch the humans with dragonborns, right? And I'm like, whoa, I'm in, man. That sounds awesome, right? And this is going to run for 4 weeks, 4 2-hour sessions. So it's like an 8-hour campaign played over a month, right? And so I'm very excited about this. But I made my character, and what I did was I went into the material I got an old 1983 character sheet that had not been used. There were there's 7 printed character sheets, and there's about 30 pages of this literally photocopied on like the junior high schools. There's like on one side there is like what this kid should have used for homework, and on the other side he photocopied like grid paper, right? And so I'm using the grid paper for my notes, and I'm using the original literal piece of paper to make my 5th edition character on a 1983 printed character sheet of a player who just died of COVID. I never met him, but we are bound, right? Like we are brothers of the dice, right? And I just really feel a connection to this person who loved what I love, right? And he played the current version of Dungeons & Dragons, and I play the current version of Dungeons & Dragons. And through time, we are connected by the polyhedral. We are connected through Gary. We are connected through what really matters, story and the table and adventure and heroism, and it's just, and I just really feel a connection to this person. And I'm very honored to just use the pieces of paper that were in the same box that he played the game with, exactly 21 plus 17, 38 years ago, right? So the paper that I wrote my character on, that I'll be using for the next 4 weeks, is written on 38-year-old paper that is unique and special, and nothing like this comes from Monopoly or Chutes and Ladders or Scythe, or this is truly unique, right? What Gary has created it just brings joy in so many radiant ways, and I am so proud to honor an original player, from 38 years ago, who hopefully I'll shake his hand in heaven someday. It's important to me, and I just wanted to share it with you. And I'd love to hear stories like this. How do you honor old players as you play Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, right? How do you embrace the new and honor the old? I'd love to hear how you do that. I'd love to really hear your experiences. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.